Sting wrestled his final match in Florida on Wednesday night at Daly's Place, tagging with Darby Allin against Konosuke Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs. Takeshita posted on Twitter that it was special to him to be able to fight Sting, and he put a photo in there of him and Sting in the ring together at World's End. He said Sting against the Great Muta on VHS had a huge impact on him as a kid. And Sting replied to this and called Takeshita another Great Muta in the making, and said he has all the tools for sure. How's that for high praise? Takeshita definitely has all the tools. They had a Falls Count Anywhere tornado tag match. It ended with Sting delivering a Scorpion Death Drop off the stage through what was supposed to be 2 tables. They missed one, and they crashed through the other. And Sting pinned Hobbs to keep his undefeated streak alive. After the match, Tony Schiavone asked Sting if he knew who his final opponent was going to be at Revolution, when they were interrupted by the Young Bucks. This was their first appearance since Full Gear. They never said a word. They only stared at Sting and Darby and Ric Flair from afar. Now, Jim Ross has said that he told Tony Khan he wants to call Sting's final match, and Tony Khan has agreed. So we know Jim Ross is going to be on the call that night, even though his AEW contract is supposed to expire on Valentine's Day. He's hopeful they'll be able to work out a new deal so that he can retire in AEW, and I think they will. I think Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone would be the right team to be on the call for the match that night. Tony's been doing play-by-play on Collision recently anyway, so he can handle that end of it even without Excalibur. I think JR and Tony would be appropriate for Sting's final match. Now, Fightful is reporting that Sting had a major say in who his opponents would be at Revolution, because, my God, has there been a backlash this week to the Young Bucks being positioned. It has not been announced officially yet, but the belief is that the Young Bucks are going to be his final opponents, right? That's what you would be led to believe at the end of that show on Wednesday. And there has been a lot of hatred for the Young Bucks online, a lot of hatred directed towards AEW and Tony Khan for the decision. Fightful made it very clear that Sting has had a major say in who his opponents would be at Revolution. He has been more keen on doing tag team matches than singles matches, which is pretty clear based on the fact that he hasn't done any singles matches this entire run, which is why Sting against Darby was never an option. It was never going to happen. As of several weeks ago, they say the plan was for the Young Bucks to be his final opponents. Meltzer says the Bucks were originally going to take more time off, but Sting asked them, and they were not going to say no to that. I mean, why would they? You get asked by the man himself to be his last match. That's not something you say no to. My attitude is this. I said on Wednesday, I wasn't thrilled with it because the Bucks are ice cold right now. This is the coldest that they have been in a very long time. But if that is what Sting wants for his final match, then I'm cool with it. Need I remind you that Kurt Angle had his last match at WrestleMania against Baron Corbin? Because that's what Vince McMahon wanted. That's not what Kurt Angle wanted. Kurt Angle wanted John Cena. And Vince told him, you can get him next year. Which sounds a lot like, I'll owe you one, pal. But he said, he's willing, he's going to give Cena to him next year if he waits. And Kurt was like, I can't go another year. My body can't make it. This is it. I'm done. And it's a good thing, by the way, they didn't put it off for a year, because having Undertaker and Kurt Angle wrestling their retirement matches in front of no fans would have been depressing. I mean, the Boneyard match was great, but Angle and Cena in an empty arena match, if you think Cena's spot calling is bad in an arena full of people, I mean, holy shit. So it's a good thing that he didn't wait, but Vince told him, well, too bad then, you're stuck with Baron Corbin. That's how they treated Kurt Angle on his way out. So if Tony Khan is deferring to Sting on what he wants to do, then I'm fine with it. One thing I know is that Tony Khan respects Sting. He has treated Sting with reverence. He has treated Sting with respect in the way that he has booked him from day one when he came into that company. When he first brought him into AEW that night with the snow falling in Daly's Place, he has treated Sting better than anybody could have imagined. Along the way, Sting decided he wanted to be the modern-day Terry Funk and reinvent himself by going out and doing crazy stunts, but Tony has treated him like the legend that he is. It's one of the things that Tony Khan has gotten right. The pairing with Darby Allin was a great move. And I believe that whatever happens, he is going to give Sting the proper send-off that he deserves and the one that he wants to have. I have a lot of concerns about various things in AEW, and booking-wise, this is one thing I don't have any real concerns about. The only concern I have is that Sting does not feel the need to go out there at Revolution and do something so stupid that he'll kill himself. But as far as the booking and what they're going to do for his final match, I'm not concerned about it. This would not be the first time that Sting has worked a match against the Bucks. They were on opposite sides in a 6-man tag at the first Forbidden Door. Sting ate a double super kick in that match. He no-sold it. The crowd lost their minds when he no-sold it. And he clotheslined them, and they took this great inside-out bump for him. And Sting told him after the match that that was the most fun he had in years. So you can see why he would have wanted to get back in the ring with the Young Bucks. Let the man get the farewell that he wants. He is 64 years old. He is not going out there and having a 15-minute banger one-on-one with someone. He wants to go out there and have fun. And the way that his run in WCW ended, I mean, the whole WCW run ended in a depressing way. They did Sting and Flair on the way out. It was still a sad night when WCW went under, just because they even let it get to that point. I think Sting's final match in TNA, wasn't it? I think he lost to Brutus Magnus, I think, on television. If I remember, I think that might have been his final match. So he went out on his back, putting over a younger guy. A lot of good it did. I don't think that one win didn't exactly launch him into the stratosphere. And then we saw the way things ended for him in WWE when he got hurt. Here's a chance for him to go out and end things the way that he wants to. He wants to go out there and have fun. He's got 2 guys that are going to bump the hell out of every move for him. And if people truly hate the Young Bucks that much, and they do, if they truly hate the Young Bucks that much, then the heat should be off the charts with the idea that the Young Bucks might actually beat Sting in his final match. It's the reason I was so upset we never got John Cena against The Undertaker before the streak was broken. Imagine every near fall in that match with Super Cena in there with The Undertaker. It would have been madness. If Tony is deferring to Sting's wishes on this, it does make me wonder, though, if that means that Sting is going to want to go out on his back. Old school, right? Putting somebody else over. It's not like the Bucks need it. It's not like the Bucks need the rub from Sting. But you know what? Then again, I would have said the same thing about Brock Lesnar being the one to end the Undertaker streak. Did he really need it? No. But it gave them this device that they could use where every single week Paul Heyman would go out there on television and get heat on Brock by saying he's the one in 21-1. So if they wanted to get extra heat on the Young Bucks, they could go around for the next year saying, hey, we're the 2 guys that retired Sting. I just don't think it's necessary. You know, I mean, imagine if they close the show with this match, which I think they will. I don't see that as being the crowd-pleasing finish that the fans are going to want to see. But if they do that, here's my question. Might Ric Flair factor into the finish? Would they actually have Ric Flair screw Sting over one final time? Sting has played the role of dumb babyface enough times already, with Flair and the Horsemen forever fucking him over. I personally don't need to see it again. But I had some people on Twitter asking me if Tony Khan might do something similar to what Pro Wrestling Noah did with Keiji Muto for his retirement last year at the Tokyo Dome, where he lost to Naito. Naito was his handpicked opponent. He lost to Naito. That was supposed to be his final match. And then he got up and he called out Masahiro Chono, who was out there on commentary at ringside. And we got one last surprise match between Muto and Chono. Those 2 debuted together. They debuted as young lions against each other on the same day. And 40 years later, they had their last matches against each other because Chono never got his retirement match. So that was it for him. Would they do something like that to give the fans one last Sting and Ric Flair match in Greensboro? I mean, it's not like Flair needs a retirement match because he already had one and it sucked. I have no interest in seeing Ric Flair get back in the ring for a match. But if it was a quick 2-minute deal where Sting gave him a Stinger Splash and then he won with the Scorpion Deathlock, fine. So long as they keep it brief. And that way, Sting goes out a winner, right? You get the heat on the Bucks because the Bucks get to be the ones that retired Sting and they're heels now, so that puts more heat on them. But in the end, Sting ends up winning anyway. He gets to go out a winner. And fitting, if they did that, very fitting that it would come against the man who made him in that very building, in the Greensboro Coliseum. You know what? Now that I say that out loud, I could absolutely see that happening. Flair turns on Sting, the Bucks win, Sting calls out Flair for one last match. That would be some shit, wouldn't it? If the one singles match that Sting actually wrestles this entire AEW run comes against Ric Flair. My God. But it's possible. I think it's very possible.